see here that the message. So there are ways of feedbacking. In a classroom, for example, the teacher throws the question. The student volunteers to answer the question. Now, the teacher now heard the answer, will decode the answer of the student, tells the student what was here, whether it is clear or it is not clear. And so from there, whatever is the response. If it is clear, fine. If it is not clear, then there is a need for the sender to clarify the message and again send that back to the receiver. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, as we communicate in the process, we make use of, next slide, next slide, please. Either verbal or oral, which can be in an oral form or in a written form. Using words, they are verbal forms. So it, of course, when we engage in speaking with others, it can be face-to-face, over the telephone, or via Skype or Zoom, or whatever means that you're going to use, but using your voice orally, or by writing back, like feedbacking or sending the message through the messenger or whatever form. And the other way of giving feedback or giving message, giving the message or making feedback is through non-verbal, which are found in our gestures, in the symbols that we use, or through our facial expression. If we are happy, we smile, or we blurt into a laughter. Through your posture, the way we stand, the way we bend are examples of posture. The way we stand, we say, when you stand, always stand tall. When we sit, always sit tall. But you can, in the process, as you move, your message is
internet.
Announcement. To earn the certificate of participation, you are expected to attend all the learning sessions per day. The attendance and evaluation forms must be properly accomplished. Provide the correct information in the form. The links to the attendance and evaluation forms are also posted and will be posted in the Q&A box. The attendance.
Yes, may nag-like na. Hi guys.
Through our facial expression. If we are happy, we smile, or we blurt into a laughter. Through your posture, the way we stand, the way we bend are examples of posture. The way we stand, we say, when you stand, always stand tall. When we sit, always sit tall. But you can, in the process, as you move, your message is being conveyed. The way you smile, that is being conveyed. Now, the way you look at each other or the person is also non-verbal through eye contact or hand movements, pointing to one, pointing the 3 fingers back, and you touch, or pictures, written or printed materials. You can see them when you go to YouTube. You have verbal and non-verbal combined. When you or when you face your students, we say that non-verbal communication reinforces our words. And that is why when communicating, our words and our symbols should be consistent.
Anita, basta.
I'm not angry, but you are angry. Actually, the way you speak, the way you sound, and the way you address the person. Okay? As we converse, as we discuss inside our classroom, what do? We make much use of non-verbal communication. By just keeping quiet, your students see you. They're standing there. Whether you are with your forehead wrinkling or with your smile or with your eyes supporting what you are doing. So
Hi,
the non-verbal
friends.
and the verbal
Hi, friends. Thank you, friends.
enhance each other's purpose. They both enhance effective communication. Next slide, please. That is why, as I quoted earlier, Gerald Ford said, "Nothing in life is more important than the ability to communicate effectively." How much more if you're a teacher? How can you connect, and how your students can connect to you will be indicators of the need for communication, the importance of communication, and the importance of
Uy, wala pa nag-like sa akin.
thoughts
Friends, isa lang
and
nag-like.
ideas. As Ben Johnson said, "Bring to me only with thine eyes, and I will pledge with mine." That is in his poem, Song to Celia. To the foreigners, it is Celia. To the Filipinos, it is Celia. Otherwise, if you call my name Celia, if you say that Celia here in the Philippines, then you are turning me into a chair. But to the foreigners, especially to the British and the Americans, they are comfortable with either Celia or Celia. Okay, so do we agree with Ford that nothing in life is more important than the ability to communicate effectively? We move on. Now we talk about what is effective communication. Next slide, please. Effective communication. There's a poll, and I see this might be related to what we are doing here. Anyhow, I don't know how to put this on. Okay. When we talk about
Ang
communication
gagawin ko.
and its importance, can we go back to the previous slide? The importance of effective communication. Just because we speak doesn't mean that that is already effective. But we need to there is a common understanding between the sender and the receiver for us to be able to say that we have communicated. Next slide, please. Now, it is important. Effective communication is important because, can we move on? Next slide, please. We communicate every day, both in our personal and professional lives.
Hi,
So how do
friends.
we
Uy, dalawang...
promote understanding, harmony, and peace without communication?
Dalawang ba yung ano mo,
How can we
friends?
be understood without
Wow, dalawang account ni friends ha. Walang mag-like sa live ko,
most
friends.
especially
Isa
inside the
lang.
classroom? We want what we say
Friends,
and what
baka
others
naman.
hear and interpret to be
Copy Christine
consistent.
September 13.
What we
Make sure you will not
say,
share this on them
they
because
understand the
our
meaning of what we're
Philippines will
saying
see
them
good at
or saying to them. Now, we want them to understand us as we understand them. The most
Okay na
effective
po.
way there is to
Ay,
either
nakadalawa na.
communicate orally,
So, dalawa pa
verbally,
lang.
or non-verbally.
May ads ba? Wala.
Now, with communication, we're able to build
Tatlo
relationships.
kayo.
But it
Tatlo na
also can destroy
yehe. Natuwa naman ako
relationship.
tatlo
Do
na
you agree with me?
nag-like.
It can
May
also
ads pa, friends?
destroy relationship. Next slide, please.
Walang ads.
And so, if effective communication builds relationship or even destroy relationship, it's because bad communication can result, poor communication can result to misunderstanding. That's why, again, George
Walang
Bernard Shaw
like.
says, the single biggest problem
Bakit
in
kaya walang
communication
ano?
is the illusion that it
Walang
has taken
ads.
place. Next slide, please. Now, we thought it had taken place, but we were not understood. And if we're not understood, the tendency is for us to be the one we're talking to will feel that he is not that
Yes,
important
apat
at
na
all.
nag-like.
And he would think that you are friends, but no, you're not, according to how you communicated. And
Walang ads.
therefore, the result of that is losing the trust of someone. Misinterpretation. If communication is not done properly, without considering the need and the intention and purpose of each other, the result is misinterpretation or even
Dalawang
misunderstanding.
friends you, ano?
So if we
Johan.
build relationship in effective communication, the tendency is we destroy, we lose a friend, or maybe the respect of our class might not be as it used to be until we communicated with them poorly. And
Wala na
in class,
mag-like.
if
Apat
instructions
lang.
are not given very clearly, the tendency is the students will not be able to perform what you expected them and how you expected them to perform, and so the deadline isn't met because of what? Because of poor communication. Instructions have to be clear, especially if we give exams, that they should be clear so that, there is only one
Hi.
interpretation.
Pwede pa ka,
Communication
palike.
is
Like
effective
lang
only
gusto
if
ko, masaya
what
na
I
ako.
said is how you understand it, and how and what you said is how I will understand it. So, is it then important that we have to develop effective communication skills?
So, kailangan pala talaga mag-communication. Yes,
Next slide,
apat na.
please.
Thank you. Wala mag-like. Apat pa rin.
So, in OBE, we say that at the end, or the student shall be able to demonstrate their understanding through, in the facets of communication, in the facets of understanding. A student could demonstrate that he or she understands if he can explain, if he can analyze, if he can evaluate, if he can create.
Nanonood ako ng
new learning,
seminar
not just merely by
sa
memorizing.
PAFTI para sa CPD
Comprehension can be
units.
seen in the way we apply something at different situation using the same principle or using the same idea. So, Einstein said that if one understood and claims to understand, the way to test him is let him explain. If you can't explain simply, you didn't understand it well enough. That is according to Einstein. And I think many of us will say that it is true. If we can't explain, it is not true that we understood. Next slide, please. Alright, so if we dream, if we plan to effectively communicate, but we fail, what can be the reasons why we fail? Now, identify to be important factors that have to be considered in communicating are the following. Next slide.
Taga saan ka po? Ay, taga ano po, taga Southern Leyte. So, sa ngayon, nandito po ako ngayon sa Maynila. Nagtatrabaho. So, province ko talaga Southern Leyte.
They are those
Ang kasi nanonood ako ng seminar sa PAFTI for maparang pagpasok sa public school.
Or the way
Kahit mura lang sa ako, ganun pa rin. Kaya mo na. Basta may
like
trabaho.
the microphone is not good, pictures are not are blurred, the one speaking is not also speaking properly, enunciating properly. That can be a barrier, or they can be barriers to the way in our desire to be able to communicate effectively. It is important then that we have to check ourselves also. Are we ready? Do we also understand what we are communicating, what we are telling the students? Have we prepared? Are our notes clear enough for us to interpret and to relate to our students? Now, if you are in a like this situation, for example, where you have to use the microphone, might be that the microphones are not so effective, people at the back cannot hear, or maybe the room is just so noisy, the place where you are is just so noisy, and the channel is not clear, the paragraphs are not written well, the
Hello.
explanation
Uy,
was not
11
well,
kayo. Palike
that can
naman.
be
Sana may dagdagan yung live.
or those are not
Matt
things that we
Darwin.
consider
Te. Sino
that we have
to?
to check
Hi,
when we
Matt.
are communicating.
Hello. Musta, Matt? Yes, na 5
Inside the
na.
classroom, there
Ihe,
are so many.
nadagdagan na yung
And noise
live.
can be within.
11 talaga
from
dyan
the-
sa viewers.
Within is
Namimilit,
that will
no?
be, I discussed that in the
Musta,
next
Matt?
module.
Taga saan ka, Matt?
Next slide, please. Then we have the environmental
Barriers.
barriers. What are they? These are interruptions.
So, kailangan
from the
talaga ng
environment.
communication, no?
Like I said, inside noise, we might be bothered by so many things that we're not able to explain well. We might be having a headache, or the outside the environment, inside or outside the classroom is very noisy. One
Hi,
one time,
Matt.
the class was
Musta?
very noisy. As my students, I saw my students to be making signs already of saying it's very noisy and that they could not hear me and they could understand. So the teacher at the other side, I said, I took my class, excuse me, may I go to the other side? I took a peep into the room and I said, do you have a teacher? And the student said, yes, ma'am, but ma'am is having an activity. I said, and I saw students jumping and howling and so forth without any consideration of classes in both sides.
Bakit kaya walang ads yung live
So I
ko?
think teachers, we have also to think of our strategies. We learned that in teaching strategies.
Hi, Anthony. Wow, mga lalaki itong pumapasok,
ah.
ah.
The noise of a strategy is
Musta ka na, Anthony?
if we will be disturbing other classes, it
Alam mo,
should
kung
not be.
mag-like
We
naman,
should not
oh.
do that. Okay? So, a friendly reminder.
Lima pa lang talaga
You can have also
nag-like.
this
Anthony,
insight
baka
as I
naman.
said, maybe you just broke up, you just quarreled with your husband or with your boyfriend or girlfriend or with your wife.
Okay naman
That
po.
can also
Okay naman
affect you.
kayo.
That is under
Okay
psychological
naman kayo
factors.
po.
Can we
Okay
move
naman
on?
ako. Bakit?
Next slide. Now, here are the psychological barriers.
Bakit, Anthony? Ano
Which are the
nangyari?
emotional and psychological factors.
May nakikita ka bang hindi ko
from both
nakikita?
The sender and the receiver, including their mental state.
Okay
You know,
naman-
you're angry
okay naman
with each
kayo
other,
po.
You don't like
Okay
this
naman
person,
ako.
so you do not like to communicate. And so you withhold information.
Bilis tumaba ng
You
buko.
keep some information to yourself and you're not able really to
Pagupit naman ako.
communicate what you should be communicating. Now, we have to check ourselves in that.
Wala naman.
If you're the
Kinakumusta
sender,
lang. Ay, okay lang naman po ako,
and you
Anthony.
have
Ikaw
this
po, kumusta
problem,
na?
or the-
Hindi pa rin
the
nadagdagan
receiver,
yung like ko,
you can
Anthony.
see the statement
Nakikinig
in
kasi
another-
ako sa
in other
seminar
perspective,
sa
you know,
PAFTI for
when you
teachers
when
po.
you have this internal
Basta ka
problem
na,
or
Anthony.
psychological problem, or you're thinking of other things, no focus. For example, you think of other things because you're communicating here. The tendency is sometimes you lose focus and you are not able to communicate effectively. So, important barrier. And when we teach, I learned in my psychology class
Yes,
before,
6 na.
general psychology, said,
Thank
when
you sa
have
mga
a problem, when
nag-like.
you step outside of the house, you leave your problem there and you are free from that problem. Then you can go to class and still smiling because your smile is also a form of communication, non-verbal. So when we get inside the classroom, we say you smile because that will break the barriers of indifference or whatsoever. Your mental state is also very important. So when we are, for example, when we go to our classes, we should be mentally clear in our purpose, in our focus. Next slide, please. The organizational barriers. What are these? Next slide. Next slide, please. All right. Our school is
Matagal ka na
organization
nag-live?
itself.
Bago pa lang, 20 minutes pala. 20 minutes na.
How to call that?
Ako na
Organizational chart.
May ads ba? Wala. Wala pa ring ads, no? Bakit kayo walang ads?
To whom we go to, or to whom we go, and communicate with whatever is on our mind regarding the organization. Or in meetings, for example. Sometimes we do not want to share at the meeting because we are not at ease with the one presiding. No? That is psychological and at the same time our organizational. In the vertical flow of communication, you talk with different levels in the organization. Now, if you are with someone you respect so much, but is very strict, you will be very careful. Of course, we have to be very careful when you communicate because sometimes it's not just the message, but it is how we say the message. Which can also be a barrier to effective communication. And so, if you know that this person is very strict, you will be withholding. You don't feel free to communicate. You have some questions, you do not want to say something. We were told, for example, that it is not...
6 na yan kanina, nagbawas yung light. Binawasan yung light.
But there
6
will
na yan
always
like
be
eh.
grudging if there are no clear indicators or no clear communication messages given to us. And so therefore, what do we do then in the organization? We will expect that communication can be freer and that our leaders are willing to listen to us. And we have to be orderly, not really that strict, but there is that sense of respect for each one of us so that we will be free to tell one another with that respect and courtesy that is due to everyone. Okay, next slide please. Then we have the cultural barriers. We have to accept the fact that we have now global way of global classrooms. Now we see in our classrooms here in the Philippines,
Bumalik yung 6 na like.
Then we have ourselves here in the Philippines. We also have our own culture. If you're an Ilonggo or if you're Cebuano or a Muslim, even in the Muslims we have also levels there. And even among the Ilonggos, we have the Karaya and so forth. The Cebuano, the pure Cebuano, and Cebu. And here in Davao, where I am from, we have, they say that this is a city where all sorts of cultures are interacting with one another. Now, because of our different cultures, we vary in our tone and enunciation, our intonation, inflection of the voice, and can possibly prevent effective communication. The stress in a word, the absence of commas in the sentence and in paragraphs, they can be affecting us. In some languages, for example, we don't hear prepositions. In some languages or some other parts of the country, we don't hear people pronouncing R. Others, everything is. They have difficulty with L and R. And in some, you don't hear the final S. So these are because of our cultures. Okay? Can we move on to the next? We are done with the barriers. We are done with the process of communication so that effective communication can take place. Now, with that considered, or with those considered, can we expect that we already can communicate effectively? Now, I like this background here. Look at the students. In an ideal class, we expect our students to pay attention to us if it is our turn to speak, to facilitate, to ask questions, and so forth. Because as I said, I mentioned earlier that I saw a vlog where I think it was from TEDx. As the talk there was given about students should lead in the classroom. The teachers should be in the background to facilitate, to guide, to remind. So that gives us now as teachers the opportunity to make use of our skills in communicating using verbal or oral and non-verbal. When I have a class, I would like students to focus their attention when I am giving instructions, when I am telling them something. Now, the reason, if you fail to listen to everything there and you lack the focus, you won't be able to follow the flow of the conversation inside the classroom, especially if the students are the ones leading. We have to admit the fact that most, if not all of us, make our students report in class.
Baka nadagdagan yung likes ko. Baka naman gusto nyo magdagdagan yung likes.
Demonstrate their skill to effectively communicate and demonstrate their understanding in the way they explain using their own words. And so with that then, let us be reminded of the 7 C's of communication. First slide, please. Let us consider first C as completeness. Our communication, our message should be complete. All facts should be there,
6 pa rin ng like ko eh.
detailed,
May 100% pa. Yung
completely,
like,
and
mas maganda pag kulay pink.
Don't
7
skip. Don't skip.
Paki-click yung dollar. Yung dollar nga, try nga yung dollar kung may dollar ba. May dollar sign ba?
So
Yung
that's
katabi
one
ng
C,
ano,
completeness.
katabi ng heart.
The next is conciseness. The arrow here tells us that speak bullseye all the time.
Yun, 7 na. Yan ang gusto
Speak all
ko.
the time.
7 na yung like.
Okay? Now, how do we do that? By being
Uy, may ads na?
with minimum number of words but maximum idea explained. So, my shortcut to that is the minimax. So, be as short as possible, covering all items that you need to cover. Be as short as possible. For example, they say, is being concise the same as being brief? But they go together. When you become concise, you put things all together, you don't have a very long letter or very long email, very long explanation if done orally. But putting all things together, concretely, specifically, directly, you
Gusto nyo
can be
makisali sa panood?
concise.
Talaga.
So, after reading, review. After writing, review for extra words and phrases. E.B. White said that where you can use a word, don't use a phrase. So he said, always think of savings, savings when you write. So he said, when you can say a word for a phrase, you use word. If you can just have a bullet and have a phrase, then instead of a sentence, you use the phrase for as long as it communicates what you are trying to say. And then he said, where you can use a simple sentence, don't use a complex sentence. You can have 2 simple sentences together, but avoid complex sentences, compound complex sentences, because extra words will make your statement, will make your message vague. So in as few words as possible, relate and communicate. The next, please. Air courtesy.
Courtesy.
If you had, and I know you did, your FS2, FS1, and FS2. What's one of the instructions there? One of the guidelines. Improve in your personal qualities and practice. Good morning.
No,
Good morning.
nawala.
But please, we are still in courtesy. Good morning and so on. And thank you. And I always tell my students, please use the nominative of address. Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Because that was how we were taught before. Values are never left behind. They never grow old. So be courteous. Okay? Don't allow your students to insult you. If they do, you can talk to them in a nice way, and they learn from it. The next one is consideration. What is meant by consideration? Etiquette is a matter of consideration. When we say be etiquette, observe etiquette, please. Now, when you say observe etiquette, it is consider the other person. Consider always whether he understands you, she understands you or not. Okay, that is to consider. So when we write, we have to write from the point of view of the writer or of the reader, so that he will feel elated or she will feel elated, and she will be thankful and appreciative of what you have written or what you have said. Be it a letter, an email, a memo, or what. It is clear to them. It is clear to them. That is giving them consideration. The next C, please. The next slide. Correctness. Correctness. So, as the details are complete, they should be correct. Now, you might distort the message by writing, not intentionally, but by writing it not the way it should be written. So, one is that's incorrect. Wrong sentences, wrong grammar, and wrong choice of word, that's correctness or incorrectness. So they all refer to correctness. Accuracy of information, accuracy in the way you say it, accuracy with consideration of the one who is listening to you. Yeah. Is there another C? Do we have already 7? I see. Yeah, clarity. What is meant by clarity? Use specific concrete terms instead of vague general concrete terms. Your statement, your letter, your answer, your explanation can be clearer if you use the concrete instead of general, and specific instead of, or concrete instead of abstract, and specific instead of general words or general statements. So clarity, that the way you construct your sentences, the way you construct your questions, which can be a problem to many of us, no? The way we construct them should be very clear, simple, and direct, so that students will be able to decode what you are asking them, decode what they will tell you in response to your questions. Okay, can we move on to the next please? Concreteness. I said, I think I explained it already. Concreteness. You can see, you can feel, you can touch. Don't talk beyond or above the heads of ours. Let us not talk about the heads of our students, because the tendency is they will not be able to see clearly what you are trying to tell them. Okay? The next. Alright. So those are the 7 C's. Very easy to remember. No? Very easy to remember. But they are very, and also they are very important in the way we communicate, whether orally or non-verbally. So for example, in the non-verbal, no, we have pictures or projections of words on the board. Let us see to it that the font is okay, and the color is not very distracting to the eyes. They are all friendly to the receivers of the message. Okay, now we go to the 10 top effective communicators. In my readings, I was told that these are skills that many, if not most, managers, principals, and deans would like to see in the way we communicate. So first, the written skills. What do we write? Memos, programs, proposals, and the like. So how do we know that we have written skills? The way we write the sentences, unity, coherence, and emphasis should be observed. Whether it be in a sentence only or in a paragraph. And this can be seen in your emails. Considering the 7 C's, look at the written skills. You are reminded of the 7 C's when you write. Intentions, margins. And we teach our students to observe margins, to observe intentions. We we also help them in the construction. Many students now, even fourth year, have difficulty constructing or writing their essays because they have the problem already with words, with phrases, with sentences, and with paragraphs. How much more when they write their thesis? So in our classrooms, we also have to train them so that they can learn the process and how to write effectively. The second skill that students appreciate, managers and deans would appreciate is the phone skills. Do we know how to answer phone calls? How do we answer phone calls? You greet hello and identify yourself, identify your school, or maybe you can identify your designation. But we have to consider the voice. In the phone skills, we consider our voice. We have to be courteous and respectful of the time. That is a skill that is to be mastered by every teacher, by everyone. Remember that I was reading, smile when you answer the phone. You are alone, but smile. Your voice should be light. We never talk aloud or shout on the phone unless your house is burning. Okay? Unless your house is burning. Okay? So use that. Imagine the person you are talking to and his reactions while you are answering the phone. Okay? The next is non-verbal communication skills. We talked about this already, and the way I saw the handshake. The way you clasp, you hold the hand, communicates your sincerity. The way you look at people indicates or shows your emotions inside him. And the way you close or open your lips also communicate. So when we speak in meetings or when we answer in the interview, or when we visit and talk to the dean or the president or whatever will that be, or to the same people, they are all human beings. We are all human beings, and we serve. Even in our nonverbal communication, we deserve the same respect and courtesy. So in the tone of our voice, in the volume of our voice, we have to remember that we are still communicating. In the softness and the loudness of our voice and the smile that goes with it, we'll communicate very effectively how you feel, what is your proposal, what is your belief, and what is it in your mind. The next, please. Next slide. Teamwork and collaboration. The 21st century asks us, the C's of communication of the 21st century tells us how important teamwork and collaboration skills are. When we say team, together, everyone achieves more. We work together. In our previous seminars in PAFTE, we emphasize isolation is the call of the day. It's not the call of the day. It is collaboration. Together, labor, work together. So in teamwork. So co-labor is to enjoy both the pain and the joy, and with the target as our focus. So we work, we develop that skill. We should learn how to communicate with each other and to achieve our purpose. So the importance, the value of teamwork, we have to develop that skill. Sometimes we just give lip service to coordination, collaboration, and cooperation, and yet we work on our own. I know of somebody holding a big office. He wants to do everything by himself. So let us know. We can help you. We might be able to help you. So co-labor and contact and be connected with your co-teachers. Maintain a good relationship with your principal and relationship with one another, with the parents, and also with especially your students. Next slide, please. and providing and accepting feedbacks. We give feedbacks when we communicate. We should know how to give that feedback. Skill of feedbacking and the skill of providing the information. We discussed that already. Put them together. You are running a meeting, attending a meeting or what have you, providing feedback there. There was one article that I read that be active in the meeting. You might have something in your mind, provide that feedback, the info, and people can give you the feedback. Let us not go to the meeting and just keep quiet there. So we are encouraged to take part in the meeting and be an active participant in that meeting. As we enjoy providing feedbacks, we should also enjoy accepting feedbacks. There are times when the feedback that we hear is not the way we wanted it to hear, we wanted it delivered, and it's not the feedback that we're expecting to hear, but that was given. It's not according to what you wanted. However, let us develop that skill. It's more of an attitude of accepting the feedbacks, and negative or positive. Negative, something for us to reflect on. Positive, something for us to be grateful for and to be thankful for. Okay? Now, what's the next? Next slide, please. Then, communicating with empathy. Our students will come to us when they have a problem. They are encouraged to come if we talk to them with empathy. I went inside the office and I saw the prefect of discipline talking to the boy what a problem, who incidentally was in his class. And I think the boy did not do very well, and he was the leader, did not do very well according to the assessment of the teacher. And so at first the teacher was strongly addressing the boys, and then the boy started crying. That's non-verbal communication. Verbal from the teacher, non-verbal for the child. And the teacher saw it, and he went down from that level of being so strong, and then he empathized. I saw him change his voice with empathy and so forth. When the boy passed by my carol, I saw him already in tears, but the face was not that heavy. We learn, we put ourselves in the shoe of the other person. How would I feel? Again, consideration. How would I feel if I hear this? How would I feel if I hurt his feelings or her feelings? That's very important. That's why they say that if you have nothing good to say, don't say anything. If you have nothing good to say, okay? We have to remind ourselves about that. I also remind myself about that. Communicating with empathy, with understanding. And from the Christian point of view, look at the person through the eye of Jesus, or through the eyes of Jesus. And Jesus had always been sympathetic, empathetic as well. Okay? So it's a skill that we have to develop in ourselves. But smiling as well is a skill. Listening skills. Active listening skill. When we do listen actively, we involve our total self. Our total self. We try to understand as well with empathy, listen, and get inside into that person. And emotionally, you try to understand also the person. Now, it doesn't mean that we will be crying, but active listening means you can ask a question, and short utterances like, and then, so it means that you are involved. But if you just listen and then scold and so forth, that is not at all a skill. But if it is your skill, you might as well do something about it. But when you are actively listening, you are listening from the whole self. No? Really? Is that so? Okay, now I think I like what you are saying. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, so that is it. And do we have another? Interpersonal skill. How do we do the interpersonal skill with other people? No? I know of somebody, I know of a teacher who would spend time outside working in the office, would go out and talk to students, just that, and then be smiling at them. And one time, there was one student who came and said, Mom, you know, when you smiled at me this morning, I felt that I was relieved of my problem with my blah, 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 blah. And you know that that happens, but sometimes our default is not to be smiling. No? And if you are that person whose default is to be very serious, I am one of them. Whose default is very serious, then remind yourself about it. If that is in your consciousness, remind yourself that this is how I affect people. No, I affect them positively or negatively according to how I relate with them. Okay? So with other person. What is the next? Next slide, please. The persuasive skills. Persuasive skills. Is it important to have that skill of being able to persuade people? As teachers, we need that. So we present ideas to our students, we present ideas to the team, we present this, and we would like them to believe and accept our ideas. So be convincing, provide the necessary details so that you can prove your point. And in order to do all this, you need to communicate. Okay? Now, that is persuasion. You need to write proposals. You need to convince people that your proposal is valid, etc., etc., and that it deserves to be given consideration and other things. Do we have the next skill? Public speaking and presentation skills. You know, my dear co-teachers, in meetings we do public speaking. When we teach our students, we do presentation skills. These are things that we have to learn. Now, and you yourselves as teachers can train your students to do public speaking and making them stand-up speakers. One technique there that I use, which I find effective, and a friend shared that with me too, is when we ask questions inside the classroom. Formulate the questions, as I said, briefly, concretely, concisely, and then ask the student, train them that you first answer, the first word or the first line is answer the question. Second line is explain by way of examples. And the third line is make a conclusion. So just 3 sentences, the maximum answer that I get from my students, and I encourage them to give me is a 3-sentence paragraph. They can have 4 with more examples. But that's public speaking. And we ourselves should be able to do that as teachers. No? We have to develop that skill. Do not just, let us not develop our students by just saying yes ma'am or no ma'am. And then as a phrase, tell them to write. It's training them to be brief. And last one is, do we have another one? Okay, so that's the end of the 10 personal skill, 10 communication there. Next slide, please. In this short period of time that we have, I am about to be going over time. What skills do you think? Let us now reflect. What skills do you think you're good at? Although I give all those 10 skills, there are more skills that we have discussed in the process of discussion we did. So ask yourself, what skills am I good at? Identify them and why. And the second slide, please, will show what skills do you need to develop? Out of those skills that were explained to you this afternoon, what do you need to develop? Okay, so try to reflect on that. And next slide, please. We will not do this role playing. Next slide. Oh, John Powell said, he's a film composer, communication works for those who work at it. It means it takes time and energy to become a great communicator. Time and energy to practice, to develop, and to enhance whatever skills you have there with you at the moment. So next slide. Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you this afternoon, and I would like to thank you for your active listening and also for this opportunity to be with you this afternoon. Thank you so much.
Thank you you so much, Dr. Andas. Absolutely. Mastering effective communication skills lays the foundation for a successful teaching journey, enabling beginning teachers to connect meaningfully with students and colleagues alike. Dr. Greg Manihan, our Assistant Treasurer, will facilitate the Q&A session. Dr. Greg?
Thank you, Ma'am Bonnie. Dr. Sel, are you in? Are you with us? Hello, ma'am. Please turn on your camera.
Not with us, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. We would request Dr. SPK and Dr. Ercamilo to help us in addressing the concerns raised by our participants. Okay. To begin with, how do I make my instructions clear and simple for young learners?
Hello, Ma'am Gray.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, yeah, that's really is also a very important question to be answered because we need to make sure our young learners will really understand all our instructions. So I always believe with what my teacher has been telling me. That is actually to always make sure that we're going to keep our instructions short, okay? Like you aim for at least 5 to 10 words per instruction. So instead of making it very complicated, so let's also make use of simple terms or simple language. Use words that are very familiar with them. That's the reason also why the Department of Education has been promoting MTB, MLE, because if the intent is for our students to develop scientific skills, mathematical skills, there is no problem if we're going to make use of the language that they use. Okay, so give one step at a time also. And there are also students with special learning needs maybe in our class who may not really understand pure text. So we can make use of visuals or gestures. There are other ways on how you can actually give simple instructions to your students, especially again for students with special learning needs. Thank you very much, Ma'am Greg.
Thank you, Ma'am Pilin. Actually, Ma'am Pilin, I think these the next two questions are somewhat related to the first question, and these are really very essential to beginning teachers. Okay, what can we do if students do not respond or seem confused by my explanations? And also, how can we manage students who constantly interrupt or talk while I'm teaching? So that's during teaching learning process now.
Yeah, you know what? Do not feel bad if some of your audiences or pupils are very active, especially when, for example, they will always interrupt while you are talking because it means they are listening. There is what we call academic noise, and there is a noise which is not academic. Even actually among adults, isn't it that when we are attending, for example, seminars, you will actually be seated with some colleagues who will always say something to confirm maybe what the speaker is saying, or maybe because they have some questions they would like to express while they are listening, they are expressing. So you need to identify exactly what the student is telling about. So it's very important for you to know how to determine if they are really are highly engaged or not. So if you feel like it's not actually an academic participation, hence the student is always disrupting, then you need to do something in order for you to let the student focus. So that's the reason why you need to equip yourself with a lot of teaching strategies. Actually, one of the talks that you will be listening to in the future are the different strategies that will be shared by Dr. Borabo. I think the strategies that she will be sharing in the succeeding Saturdays are actually very interesting strategies in order for you to help young learners to really focus. Thank you very much, Ma'am Greg.
Thanks, Ma'am Pilin. Another question. What strategies help students develop not only academic but also emotionally
and socially. Kasi po, di ba, may mga students na pakiramdam po nila hindi sila belong in safe class.
Yeah, that's the reason why there is what we call inclusive education. You feel you are excluded, it means there is no practice of inclusive education in the class. So that's the reason why it has been actually mentioned in the 4 pillars of education, if you're familiar with it, that we should allow our students to learn to live together. Even in the way you facilitate classes, you should let every student feel they belong to your class. So let us reduce also prejudices. Let us see to it that by the words that we use, by the examples that we give, let us see to it that our students will really feel good. Do not always ask the same student to share his or her experiences, because every student will really feel good if in the whole semester or during the whole year that at least for once you're able to recognize also their lived experiences and have it be shared. So let us create a safe and inclusive classroom. Like we need to greet them, we need to check every now and then, and we need to give affirmation to every student. So they need that. Integrate also collaborative learning. And then let us, of course, value what social cultural learning theories will tell us, that if we're going to do group work activities with our classes, see to it that every student's contribution will really be reported also by the leaders, because there are leaders sometimes that they will monopolize actually the presentation of their own inputs. Even if there was a group report, for example, there is this tendency for some leaders to just report what they have in mind right aside. So they have to report the contribution of the group. So let us, of course, be guided by a lot of techniques and strategies, so that every student's input will be valued. Maliit man siya o masyadong marami, importante yun na mapahalagan sa loob ng klase. Thank you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Okay. As a teacher assigned in an indigenous people school or remote mountain school with no access to electricity or internet signal, how can you demonstrate effective communication and apply classroom management strategies while also finding innovative ways to integrate technology despite those limitations?
Yeah. Ma'am Greg, I actually always tell my students in the pre-service that they cannot really think of a strategy to use in their classes if they did not master their contents. And that's the reason why in the PPST, the very first domain is actually mastering your content first. Once you are a master of your content, it will be very easy for you already to think of ways on how you will communicate your contents, regardless of whether they belong to an IP group or in a rural or in an urban area. Okay, but because the question is specifically for people who are indigenous peoples, like here in the Cordillera, I belong to the Kalanguya tribe, and a lot of students here in the Cordillera Administrative Region are Ibaloys, from Kalinga, from Apayao, and so on. And what is good is there are really teachers who are actually trained to make use of the mother tongue. Okay. However, we should also see to it that it's not but using only the mother tongue. Why don't you also make use of their of the local context of what they have in their indigenous communities as a springboard to explain or to elucidate your contents, because that's the only time when they will find meaning in what you are talking about, in what you are presenting to them, in the mathematical concepts or in the science concepts that you are presenting to them. And that is the reason